Armenia and Azerbaijan have been locked in a bitter conflict since the end of the Soviet Union, when ethnic Armenian forces took control of Karabakh, the region known internationally as Nagorno-Karabakh. Azerbaijan retook that territory in September 2023. Another key issue is establishing a land corridor between Azerbaijan and its exclave of Nakhchivan, which is separated from the rest of the country by about 20 miles of Armenian territory.
Now there is change on the horizon. How? How else?
It's a long time, 35 years. They fought, and now they're friends, and they're going to be friends for a long time. That is so great, and we'll hold up. How about holding up that document, all right?
It was a historic moment at the White House on the 13th of March, 2025, after almost 4 decades of conflict. But Iran has a concern. Even as Iranian officials reportedly predicted the so-called Trump corridor will be a graveyard for America's mercenaries, Iran's president visited Armenia's capital of Yerevan.
So we lost a lot of years just being preoccupied with wars and occupation and bloodshed. So who, if not President Trump, deserves the Nobel Peace Prize?
Reached a significant milestone in Armenia-Azerbaijan relations. We're laying a foundation to write a better story than the one we had in the past.
Iran's president says issues of the Caucasus must not be outsourced, but even as Iran and Armenia signed a number of memorandums and agreements, Khamenei's real concern is Trump and the USA. In fact, it was a really interesting conversation between the Iranian and Armenian leader. Pezeshkian went on to seemingly try and convince Iran that the route was good for the region and the two countries, pitching a could-be rail route from Iran to the Black Sea coast through Armenia. The visit comes days after the signing of the agreement in Donald Trump's presence. And in the backdrop of the 12-day US-Iran war, both Armenia and Azerbaijan broke away from the Soviet Union in 1991. But the tensions predate the Great Collapse. In the 1980s, Nagorno-Karabakh broke away from Azerbaijan with support from Armenia and its majority ethnic Armenian population. However, in 2023, a Baku military operation seized back the territory, sparking an exodus of the ethnic population. On the mirror side of Nagorno in many ways is Nakhchivan. It is the only autonomous region of Azerbaijan and is stuck between Armenia, Iran, and Turkey. Nagorno-Karabakh has been a long-running blood feud now, but Donald Trump's personal entry into the chaos is a huge concern for Iran. A deal between the two former Soviet nations would put America right on Iran's door, and therein lies Khamenei's biggest fear.
Çoktan gözlüyorduk bu mukabele bağlansın. Biz komşularımız Ermenistan'a etibarımız yok idi. Ona göre böyle bir güç, devlet lazım idi ki zamin dursun onlara göre. Ruslar Rusya durabilmedi, Amerika durdu.
Ve bütün təhlükəsizliyi Amerika öz üzərinə götürür. Bununla da demək olar ki, sakitlik, əmin-amanlıq yaradacaq.
İrəliyə olan hər bir addımı biz alqışlayırıq. Nə deyə bilərik ki? Ümid eləyək ki, bundan sonra irəliyə doğru addım olacaq. Sağ olsunlar. Trump da, İlham Əliyev də, Paşinyan da, hər üçünə sağ olun.
Այդ հռչակագիրը ըստ էության ոչ մի խաղաղություն տարածաշրջան չի բերելու։ Մենք շատ լավ գիտենք նաև մեր հարևանների դիրքորոշումը, պատկերացնում ենք մեծ աշխարհաքաղաքական, եռացող կաթսայի մեջ։
In Donald Trump's mad dash race to make America once again the sole dictator of global affairs, a 43-kilometer proposed stretch of Armenian land could be the US president's greatest move against Putin and Iran. It makes sense that the businessman has gone for a lease. Because obviously you can't just buy someone else's nation, well, at least officially. At an estimated cost of around $5 billion, this Zangezur, or so-called Trump corridor, is expected to return well over $50 billion in annual trade flows. That is a good investment to say the least. As part of the carefully negotiated document, Armenia is awarding exclusive development rights of the proposed corridor to the United States of America. It has been named the Trump Route for International Peace and Prosperity, or TRIPP, and will be operated according to Armenian law. But the USA will sublease the land to a consortium for infrastructure and management. Armenian officials believe business will end the violence. It will connect Nakhchivan to Azerbaijan, but Iran believes it may end up cutting them off from Armenia. Iran's demand for governance in the Caucasus, remaining within, is a clear call against the United States of America. It comes at a time when nations across the world are trying to get a seat at a table that is once again getting smaller by the day. In a world where Trump and Putin put their nations first, but are ready to exploit others, smaller nations are once again being pushed into a corner. After the US B-2 bombers struck Iran, purportedly crippling its nuclear program, the Trump corridor may be one of the nails in the coffin of the brutal Khamenei regime. But at what cost?